Hello and welcome again. In previous videos, I have discussed the fantasies or the mythology of the stories of Adam and Eve, the forbidden fruit, the original sin, and the punishment of the serpent and Adam and Eve. And we've seen that those stories are not true. They're not factual. They are simply based on myth. You can check those stories, those videos about those stories in the previous videos that I have done. Now, in the last video, we discussed about the fact that the Jehovah or the Yahweh that we continually sing about and worship is not the God of Africa. It's not the God of anybody else apart from the people of Israel. Now today we're going to discuss Abraham. Now Abraham is one of the big characters in the Bible. He is supposed to be the father of the nation of Israel. He is supposed to be the father of faith. He is supposed to be a signatory to a covenant between God and the people of Israel, and by extension, the Christians tell us, father of the world. And they take pride in singing that Abraham is their father, and that Abraham's blessings are theirs by faith in Jesus. So in this and the next video, I'm going to look at the Abraham story and to see whether it's actually true, whether it is fact, or whether it is pure fantasy. Welcome to Naked Truth. So Abraham is the father of the nation of Israel and signatory to a covenant between Yahweh or Jehovah and the people of Israel. Now the story of Abraham goes like this. We are told in the book of Genesis that Abraham received a call from Elohim or Yahweh, as the case may be, who told him to leave his land, which is the Ur of the Chaldea, and his people of Mesopotamia, and to go to the land of Canaan. This land of Canaan was, of course, inhabited by the indigenes of the land, and but the idea was that Abraham and his descendants would get that land. So, as instructed, Abraham, or Abram as he was then called, left his wife, left left Ur of the Chaldeans or Mesopotamia with his wife and his nephew Lot and all their possessions, and headed for the land of Canaan. This story is contained in Genesis 12 verses 1 to 9. So, having proceeded on the journey, and in the course of the journey, and in different locations, Yahweh continually spoke to Abraham, and they made a covenant with him to give him and his descendants the land of Canaan. This land of Canaan, of course, don't forget, it was already inhabited by people, by different nations. So Genesis 15, 18 to 20, and Genesis 17, verse 7, confirm that there was a covenant between Abraham or Abram and his God Elohim or Yahweh. I don't want to go into the controversy of which is which. So, and then because of this covenant that Abraham had with Yahweh, he says that Yahweh will bless him, bless his descendants, his people, and all nations will be blessed through him. Now, Israelites, of course, understandably, because of this, revere Abraham. They respect him as the father of the nation, and they boast of their descent from Abraham. They boast that we are children of Abraham. If you look at John 8:33, 2 Corinthians 11:12, Romans 11:1, 31:1, many places. So they are boastful and happy about the fact that Abraham is their father, and that Abraham had a covenant of blessing with God or with Yahweh. This covenant was sealed by an order or agreement between them that all the male children of Israel would be circumcised on the 8th day of their birth. So that was the seal of the covenant, the circumcision of male children. But is this story fact or fantasy? Is it real or is it mere mythical story? Let's look at the Bible for answers. Now, once you look into the story closely, it begins to unravel very quickly. The first problem with the story is the call of Abraham, or the supposed call of Abraham. From Genesis, it appears that call was in fact a sham, that the call never in fact happened. Because before the call of Abraham, the father of Abraham, the Bible tells us, the father of Abraham, who was called Terah, had already taken Abraham and his wife Sarah and his nephew Lot from that same land of the Chaldeans, and had begun to migrate with these people to Canaan. So the migration was begun by Abraham's father, not Abraham. Genesis 11:31 to 32. It says, Genesis 11:31 to 32 says, that Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. This was Genesis 11. So after the death of Terah, Abraham's father, naturally, they were already going to Canaan. They were already moving to Canaan. So after the death of Abraham's father, naturally, Abraham continued the journey to Canaan. That means there was no call to Abraham to leave his people, his land, and go to a different land. He already left that place and those people before his supposed call took place. So, there was no call, according to the Bible. Then the second problem with the Abraham story is that his ancestors and himself appear not to be real people. They appear to be mythical characters, fantasy characters. It's not from me, saying it. So, Genesis 11:10 to 27 gives the ancestors of Abraham, and they call them descendants of Shem, as the names are not easy to call: Arpachshad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah. Terah, of course, was the immediate father of Abraham. Now, but these names, including Terah's name, including the grandfather of Abraham, i.e. Terah's father, they are names of places, not names of people. If you go to the notes, if you have a Bible with notes under it, go to the notes on Genesis 11:27 to 32. It says that those names are not names of people, they are names of places. So these names of places have been used to represent people. In fact, Haran, who was Abraham's supposed brother, is the name of the town of Haran, where Abraham settled with, where Terah settled with Abraham, and where Terah died. If you remember, Terah died on the course of the journey to Canaan. He died in a place called Haran. And now this Haran is named as the brother of Abraham. It was from this Haran that Abraham took over the journey when the father Terah had died. Look at Genesis 11:28 and Genesis 27:43. So the ancestors of Abraham: Terah, his father; Haran, his brother; and then his grandfathers and great-grandfathers were names of places and not names of people. According to the Jewish Encyclopedia, not Lawmodeme Encyclopedia, and not African Encyclopedia, it says, Abraham's king's folk, recorded in Genesis, are personification of tribes, and his predecessors and successors from Noah to Jacob are mythical or legendary. Abraham's king's folk, kinsmen, fathers, brothers, grandfathers, the Jewish Encyclopedia says, are personifications of tribes. So basically, they copy the names of tribes and use them as names and just pretend that these are names of people. It continues, the biography of Abraham in Genesis is probably to be regarded as legendary, not factual. Having grown up around sacred places, ideas, and institutions. So the biography of Abraham, the Jewish people tell us, is legendary. Catholic Encyclopedia confirms this. Did you hear that? Catholic, that is the Roman Catholic Church, the original church, confirms. Very often, it says, where individual names are used in the Old Testament, these names in reality refer not to individuals but to places, as in Genesis 10. And the names of the 12 patriarchs, whose migrations are those of the tribes they represent. So the migrations of Abraham the migrations of Jacob, the migrations of Terah, the father of Abraham, and all those patriarchs, all the story about them, the Catholic Encyclopedia says these are the tribes they represent. They are not individuals. Now, the next problem with the story of Abraham's call and migration to Canaan and the covenant he made with God is that the circumcision story appears to be unreal. Remember, the covenant of Abraham was sealed with circumcision, the requirement that all male children must be circumcised in their 8th day. And this was so strong that even Moses was almost killed because he forgot to circumcise his own son within 8 days. It was the wife who quickly, to avoid calamity for Moses, took out a knife and began to do the thing herself. So it was a very strong thing. But was there a covenant of circumcision? Or was it simply a cultural practice? In fact, it would seem that the practice of circumcision is not a result of any covenant, but simply an expression of the culture of a people. And this culture of circumcision or practice obtains in many different cultures, in many other parts of the world. And in these places, there is no covenant story, there's no suggestion there was a covenant or that God said it should be done. It is just practice of the people. In many places where there's no connection with the Jewish religion. And the Bible confirms this point. Jeremiah 9:25-26. Jeremiah 9:25-26 says, and I will quote, "The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will punish all who are circumcised only in the flesh. Egypt, Judah, Edom, Ammon, Moab, and all who live in the desert in distant places. For all these nations are really uncircumcised, and even the whole house of Israel is uncircumcised in heart." So, it's confirming that in different places in Egypt, which is not the land of Yahweh, in Edom, Ammon, these are people in the Canaan that were supposed to be defeated and killed. Moab, in distant places all over the place. Now these people are also circumcised in the flesh. They perform male circumcision, even though their heart is not with Yahweh. So he's saying, even the Jewish one, the circumcision of the flesh, that time is coming when that will no longer be important. So it is clear that circumcision, in fact, you are witnesses that in your own land, in your own place, in many places they have circumcision of males. In some places, they also circumcise the females. This is not a result of covenant, but a result of cultural practice, some hygienic practice, and some sexual practice, rightly or wrongly. It's not because of covenant. And by the way, if you look at the story, the covenant, if it were to be real, Why was it only men who were part of the covenant? The circumcision of the first Cain is for males. What about the females? What part have they got in the covenant? Are they not also people of God, of Yahweh? So, clearly, the story of Abraham is mythical. At best, it's legendary. It's not a factual story. Most likely, there is no individual called Abram. And the story of Abraham as the father of the nation of Israel is not different from tales and myths and legends of the fathers of different nations around the world. Every people have their own story about how their nation came about. And they have fantastic, beautiful stories about their first father or their first mother. It's natural. And Abraham is not different. And if Abraham did in fact migrate from Mesopotamia to Canaan, that is also not special, because people from time immemorial have been migrating. Nations are founded by migration. People left where they were living in those days when land was abundant and population was few, or was not. There weren't many people around the world as we have today. So there's plenty of virgin lands and territories. So people moved, migrated, established new settlements in different places. That is the way it has always been. Now, many such migrants will say, if they succeed in where they were, in where they migrated, they will say that God has blessed them and multiplied them and made them a nation, or made them father of many nations. But it doesn't mean that it's a special story. It's only special to the people telling it. There are numerous such stories around the world. And even till today, people still migrate to different places to establish families, and then their children will grow up there and continue to live there. Such migrations are constant in history. Therefore, it is very crazy and rather stupid for people, in fact for Africans, to abandon their real ancestors, their real forefathers, and real foremothers, and be claiming to be children of Abraham by faith. Abraham's blessings are mine. Abraham's blessings are mine. I am blessed in the morning. I am blessed in the evening. Abraham's blessings are mine. Rubbish. Abraham, if he were to be human and existed, would be the father of his own people, the Israelites, the Jewish people. He's not the father of any other person. In the next video, we shall go on to look at the claim that Abraham is the father of all nations and whether his blessings actually are ours. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. If you like the video, please do the right thing. Help us subscribe, share the video, and help us to grow the channel. Until I see you again next time.